us because our purpose was far greater. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to get to Herschel, though I missed the village and all those I left behind. Oh, yes, those last few weeks, I didn't know for sure if I was even going to get out. Each step an obstacle. Mr. Grosvenor saw me on my way to the station, offered me a ride in his milk cart, and it took all my wits not to say the real reason I was going to town. And well, I let him think it was for Papa's medicine, but my tongue was so twisted in my mouth, all I could do was ask him about his cow Bella, which, by good fortune, he was happy to go on about. I mean, if I had even hinted why I was going, it would have been all over the village in no time. America, South America, no less. But you can imagine, and I never would have gotten out. And then to sit shiver, knowing at any moment the door could burst open, the jig would be up. But Chaim came over to sit with us and kept whispering, not to worry, not to worry. And then he hands me a packet of what I thought could be writings, some music, and made such a show that, for your memories, Clara, so loud, all for all to hear, for your memories of all the times your father made himself so dear to us. And then whispers, put it somewhere safe. And I did.
The ship's horn blows.
Oh, you hear that? It's so loud. Reminds me of the shofar sounding Tekiah at high holidays. It's a good sign, yeah? Warms my heart to see a familiar face. Perhaps after we arrive, you'll come Shabbos with us? Well, it's a short walk from the main square on Calle de Polonia, just past the fountain with the faces of angels spitting the water out of their mouths. Always makes me laugh to see it. And now, oh, how we need so much to laugh a little. Ephraim, stop hitting your brother right now. Oh, come here. Say shalom to our friend Leah. Oh, she's gone. I guess, Nia. I hope I didn't upset her. She looked so worried. Like someone was chasing after her too. Oh, it's beginning to smell a lot like strudel. Schmeckt it, but not ready yet.
Scene 5, the Americas.
The light reflecting on the glass of my Herschel spectacles greets me on arrival in Buenos Aires, as he waits on the shore for us to climb up from steerage and walk down the gangplank. Clara! Clara! He calls, in such an embrace. And right away, Miriam is his favorite. At last we're together, his brothers, his sister, the children. I learn a new language, a new life, where summer is in our winter months, and winter is in our summer. Our neighbors welcome us, the sound of prayers and the glow of the candles surround us on the Sabbath. Soon our family expands with a new son, Rudy, even more bold than the two boys already. But believe me, it was not always a bed of roses as time went on. For my new son, Rudy, now age 5, and my daughter Miriam, now age 8, go into town one day to follow the running of the bulls, and thirsty from the dirt in the road and the heat of the sun, they drink from the fountain. The water isn't fresh. They both get sick. My daughter is strong enough and survives the fever, but my Rudy does not. I can't help thinking every day of what might have happened. If only I had gone into town with them. If they wouldn't have dared drink from that fountain if I were there, no matter how much they whined. And I don't blame Miriam. No. Rudy always had a mind of his own, just like his father, but with his blue eyes that were like mine, the only one. I look in the mirror, and they're staring back at me. What was Herschel thinking to let them go? Well, he wasn't thinking. I mean, Rudy was so determined, and if Miriam was willing to take him, Herschel said, fine, take him, get it out of his system. He won't have to hear about it every Montag and Donnerstag. Mama, Tata. And maybe if I had given something different to eat, something not so salty to make them thirsty, some fruit maybe, they wouldn't have stopped at the fountain to drink. The one with the devil's horns, spitting the waters out instead of the angels on the other side. That should have been a clue, it was poison. Such a hot day. They were thirsty. But if I had gone with them, they would have come home with me, and nothing would have taken Rudy away. Nothing would have forced his eyes to close, his hands to grow cold, his gravelly voice to stop singing off key. Hashem would have kept him here, not buried like my father in the ground, wrapped up all by himself, alone in the night without a light by his side. Well, from that day on, I felt haunted. Without a photograph even to remember him, his face began to fade. The Orthodox don't allow photos to be taken, for the evil eye can steal your soul. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? What was I thinking? An unbearable silence so loudly said, it's time to leave. And not just the neighborhood or the country, but the whole continent. Eventually, Herschel found work with the Merchant Marines going to North America, and there he jumped ship at the port of New Orleans and worked his way to Philadelphia, where he sent passage for me, our daughter, our sons, his sister brothers to join him in the city of what he called brotherly love. Well, we did well there. He worked, I kept house, I cooked, I sewed, and remnants were inexpensive. I could fashion a dress, to look like the ones in the window of the department store. I'd take my daughter and ask her, well, which one do you like? And she would point. And I would draw it up, make a pattern, and ta-da, make the dress. Well, only for far less than the piece on the model. We even bought a camera and took pictures of the children, and when they arrived, the grandchildren, Hashem forgive me, they filled the walls of this house that we bought closer to the ocean, where in summer we can smell the sea and sit by the shore. I have my sewing, my vegetable garden, with an arbor with roses.
But then one day,
I'm sitting in the kitchen, and out of the blue, I hear, Clara! 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 He was yelling already, and I yelled back, Herschel! 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 Well, and from the, and now, here's what, I don't understand. How one moment I can be going about my business, not a cloud of worry or thought of darkness, and then boom, out of nowhere, the world explodes like grease in the pan that catches fire and needs some baking soda to douse the flames on the spot. And like grease in the pan, it sets my temper on fire too. He wasn't calling to me with affection, Clara, 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 as he did when I first arrived, running toward each other to embrace. No, he was like a border I didn't want to cross, like all those borders I had crossed and had to keep my mouth shut about how rude the guard was, of course, and if I said how I really felt, well, I just couldn't. For who knows what the guard would have done. And now with Herschel yelling, I'm feeling the heat coming into my hand, with holding the chopping knife. Well, was I chopping? Well, I was always chopping this, chopping that, making soup for the kinder and for him too. And then comes more booming. What is the matter with you? This is how it must be. We have a guest. Clear off the coffee table, too many tchotchkes. He sits in the main chair. He is the guest of honor. He is the guest of honor? What? forget to tell me, or forget that he forgot? Or did I forget? He expects me to read his mind. One complaint after another, but I wanted to make it stop. But how? Yell back even louder? The heat I felt rising in my feet from the earth I stood on, from the very wood floor he was so proud of, not like the one he would remind me of. All you had was whitewashed dirt floor, and all you knew was dried red herring. Who ever heard of eating like that? He didn't know a potato from a what? Here he was shouting like he might to one of his workmen who couldn't even read, God help him. I could read. Oh, how I wanted to make his voice quiet. His voice like a dagger, like he wanted to make my voice quiet. And for a while, I stayed that way, quiet, though not agreeing with him, oh no. For silence, I had learned, was not always a yes, and just a very quiet no. So I just stayed at the table, chopping. First the celery, then the carrots, scraping off the dirt a little, and then the onion. It brought tears to my eyes. And I forgot to bite the piece of bread to keep the tears from coming. Still, I could feel the fire inside my heart that made me want to take the cutting knife and plunge it into him. Not to kill him, of course not, but just a moment to make his voice stop ringing in my head in the air of the kitchen he so rarely stepped into. Crazy, Clara, crazy! What is the matter with you? Only a crazy woman. Why didn't I just ask him, what's making you so the way you are? But I could not think, not in words. Not while he went on, and his words, crazy Clara, stayed on the line that hung in my head like the sheets between the trees that would take so much scrubbing. Now, finally, after his words began to fall a little like an unclipped corner of the sheet, did I feel my own words begin to take their place. What could I say to him? What could I say that would make him understand that his tone of voice made him sound like an enemy, cutting me like a bayonet, and would not make me do his bidding, would not make me welcome his guest to our home, but would bring a river of ice to my tongue as if an enemy soldier bided to stay with, forcing us to treat with feigned civility and false welcome. Guest of honor. Where was the honor in his voice? Where was the respect that he had used so many years before when he asked my father, my beloved father, for my young hand? Where was that voice? The one that had convinced me to say yes, to accept the proposal from the bespectacled young man that stood so confidently before us. Gone. Gone, gone. Could I even remember that day? So many Shabbos dinners cooked and eaten over the years, so many candles lit and extinguished to save before they burnt out, so many borders crossed to arrive at this moment. Where was the voice of comfort he used when we buried our child and held me in his arms? It will be better. You'll see. It will be better. Where each one of us sat. What's it so important? I mean, it wasn't as if this honored guest was so much better than us. I mean, yes, he was a writer like Herschel's sister, what she left, well, not like her writing all filled with the fierce grace of her heart, what she left behind, what she hoped for, but never expected to happen. No, this writer wrote opinions about the men who worked in the lumber mill, the women who sewed in the sweatshops, the dangers they met, the fingers they lost. Yes, a man to be respected because he spoke out. But what of my voice? Was I to stand here and accept my husband shouting just because he was my husband? Because Betty thought he was right. Always right. I breathe. I breathe again. The air coming into me. I feel the beginnings of words on the tip of my tongue, beginning to form on my lips. My feet much cooler on that wooden floor he'd laid down himself so skillfully without a nail in it. Each groove of a bolt fitting into the next one, like the two lovers we once were, fitting into each other to make each of our children. I feel the words forming, and my tongue tasting them, trying to adjust, like the spices in my borscht, with just enough salt to bring out the flavor, and just enough sugar to soften the acid, to make the words sound less harsh than the ones he had exploded toward me. I stand there, with the words ready now. After a long enough silence, it settled in a 6-foot opening between us to deliver in such a way that he will hear them without burning his ears, but feel just enough shame for having been so disrespectful to the woman he had so many years before declared his intention to protect and honor all the days of our lives. And then, resisting the urge to speak to him the way I spoke to our own village idiot, Ayres-Frederick had one, I placed the paring knife carefully into the sink and say, Herschel dear, the borscht will be done at 6 sharp. You and your honored guest may sit wherever you want. The bowls with spoons are on the counter. Well, you know where the bread is. I'll be at choir practice for the yard site memorial service for my father. No need to wait up. Sometimes a pinch of guilt is all the spice.
Scene 6. What is in a name?
We have about 3 minutes before the strudel comes out of the oven. So I'm going to tell you how I got my name. I wasn't always Clara. No, when I was born, I was sickly, thin, wobbly. My mother was almost ready to let me die. But she wasn't sure what to do. Given none of her previous children had been such weaklings at birth. What was there a heaven for infants? What would happen to them? And would they go somewhere where they couldn't fend for themselves? So unsure of what to do, she went, of course, to the rabbi and said, oh, my daughter, this new one, she's so thin, she hardly eats, and yet, am I to just let her die and let Hashem take her back? Of course not, the rabbi says. There's always a solution. Well, not always, but a good part of the time. As for heaven, there's no guarantee. Though Hashem knows here on earth can be a real challenge. My colleagues and I, we discussed this at length. What if there is no heaven? Well, what do we, who have suffered so, have to look forward to when our time here is over? And on he goes on the subject. But meanwhile, I whimper and cry. My mother unable to comfort me and gets a little impatient with the rabbi going on about heaven or no heaven, so she decides to push him along a little. A fascinating subject, Rabbi. I'm sure we could talk further, but right now I'm at my wit's end about my little one. She hardly sleeps, crying here, there, so unhappy, so unwell. What did you name her? He asked. Ah, yes, her name is Stasia. Stasia? Yes, Stasia. Well, no wonder. No wonder. With a name like Stasia, it's no wonder she's so unhappy. But it's my mother's name. Your mother? Yes, she helps me and thought it an honor that I named her for her. Oh, well, that's the problem. Your mother's still alive, I presume. Well, indeed, she is. Don't you realize it's a terrible thing to name a child for a living person? An old wives' tale that is, Rabbi. Not so much, not so much. And your mother is in good health? Well, she has a few complaints lately. Well, a little bit more since the little one was born. All right, I see the solution. You do? I do. You must change your daughter's name for a spirit of her own and not depend on anyone else's for the strength of her life. Really? Really? With your mother's name split between her and your daughter and your mother, the spirits are fighting for possession, and she should have the name for herself. Oh, so I must give her a new name, precisely, as quickly as possible. And what name do you suggest? Something healthy, something open, something clear like the sky. Well, how about Clara? Perfect. I would have suggested it myself, but you beat me to it. Then Clara she is. And Clara is what they called me, and any evil spirits that may have looked for me as Stasia, who kept me weak or weakened my mother's mother, did not know where to look. In Clara I have been, and true to the Rebbe's prediction, yes, I became healthy and strong, and lived, as you can see, a long and robust life. Each night, before I go to sleep, I hold the sheet above my head like so as not to offend the all-seeing eye of Hashem, and pray that it is time to join him and all that have gone before him, to be sure to take me to heaven, if there is one. But I've lived so long, I wonder sometimes if the angel of death has forgotten me. So I've asked my daughter to put both my names on the gravestone, just in case there's any confusion as to who I am. To cover all the bases. It's a good idea, yes? And now, an even better idea. Let's taste the strudel.
She goes to the oven, takes out the cooked strudel, and she holds it up.
Oh, schmeckt gut. Delicious.
End of play.
Thank you all so much for coming. Let's have another round of applause. Play's dramaturg is going to, yes, exactly, is about to host a quick talk back for those of you that are interested in sticking around for that. Please and thank you. If you are not interested in sticking around for the talk back, now would be the time to make your exit.